Welcome home, fam. You are here at the Diginacci sequence. I'm Will Carr, here with my co-host, Sean. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
What's up, Will? Just crushing it out here in the cabin, starting a podcast.
Here we are.
I mean, it's so hot right now.
It is a hot day, man. We're at the peak of the summer.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, well, Will Carr, love Colorado, love where I live. The founder of Genesee Nutrition. We make healthy and delicious protein bars for outdoor adventure, just people that love to be outside, enjoy their life. You know, a big part of what I do is work with college athletes and college sports, a lot of small college athletic programs. So that's real fun. It's a real passion for me. I played basketball in junior college, Division II, before I went on and played overseas. And so being able to work with college athletes now and give back to them is a real passion of mine. Recently been able to go and do public speaking for these college athletic programs and really just try to feed these kids positivity, mentor them in what it means to live a healthy, active, and happy life, which is our slogan at Genesee Nutrition, trying to teach people how to live healthy, mentally, physically active, doing the things they love. So that way you can be happy, because that's what it comes down to, right? In order for us to be happy, we got to be healthy. We got to be able to do the things that we love and fill us up. So yeah, man, I love life. Glad to be here. Glad to be doing this podcast.
Of course you do. And for those watching, you cannot tell that he is a 7-foot monster. If his daughter walks in, you can see the tip of her forehead. And that's about it. But he's our gentle giant. My name is Sean Calahan. I moved to Colorado I guess it's been 11 years now. My wife and I moved up here. We started a cannabis magazine called Fox and Nug. We printed for 4.5 years and then kind of got out of it and just really dove into the creative side of things, and been doing photography now for over 10 years. And we just recently got into some video and shooting documentaries, and that kind of led us to XRP Vegas the way we got there. I went for my second year this year, and Will called one day and said, me and my dad are coming. So I said, I'm bringing a rig. I don't care what Brad Kime says. Well, I emailed them. They already had a good team working for him, so decided to bring the rig. And we talked about interviewing a bunch of people, and we went there and we succeeded. We interviewed Zach Rector, Mickle, Johnny Dietz, aka John Deaton, Simon McLaughlin, and others. And I feel like it was only maybe the first or second interview that I put Will on the camera because he's a 7-footer and nobody could say no. So after a second or third interview, people were just like, where can we find you guys at? And, you know, at the end of the first day, we kind of just started talking like, all right, well, we got to do something. So we went back the second day, got a bunch more interviews, and same thing. So we chatted when we got back to Colorado, and here we are. And we coined this term Diginacci a few years ago, and we've got a ghost contributor among us. He'll send us charts with the Diginacci sequence over the charts, and it's pretty unreal how they line up, and you know, it's kind of amazing. So we'll try to see if he wants to come on the show, or she, I don't know, but definitely pretty amazing. Some of the charts we just got one 30 minutes ago, and it's pretty amazing how it's following the lines. We'll definitely have to post a handful when we get a chance, but
I tried to call him and just goes straight to voicemail.
Right. He sends it from a blocked number every time.
One of those like voice changer things.
Yeah. We'll see if we can't get him out, you know, almost maybe if it's just his feet. I don't care.
I had my cybersecurity friend look into his IP address and it was all scrambled.
Well, you know, maybe at some point we'll get a VPN sponsor on the show. But Will he did tell you about Genesee a little bit. That is going to be our official sponsor of the show at Genesee Nutrition. And so Genesee is a mountain over here, or is a park?
It is. So Genesee is a mountain park here in Colorado, and as you're driving out west from Denver past Golden, you're headed out I-70. Genesee is where there's this iconic view of the Continental Divide. And it really just feels like that's where your journey into the mountains begins. So whether you're hiking, skiing, camping, those are the ones that I love to do. But, whether you're mountain biking, paddle boarding, kayaking, whatever your mountain adventure is, Genesee is where your adventure begins. So that was driving home one day, driving through Genesee. That's when I got the inspiration for the name, for the brand. And yeah, I mean, the rest is history, I suppose. But
What brought you to Colorado?
basketball. I came to Colorado, train with some professional basketball trainers here, and I ended up coming to college at Colorado School of Mines in Golden, got my engineering degree there. And yeah, just once you get here, you just never want to leave. And especially now living in the mountains, my backyard's the playground, dude. So
It is. And I live at 9,000 feet. I'm sure you're going to hear a chicken or a rooster here real soon. I tried to go run them off as far as possible, but they'll be back. They really like hanging around this cabin.
I eat six of Sean's eggs every morning.
Oh my gosh.
6 eggs and a quart of raw milk, man. That gets me started.
Yep. And we play on the same softball team. We're champs this past year. We got a reputation to hold. And Will just barely swings at the ball coming in, and it just goes.
I try to keep it in the fence and keep it fun sometimes.
Yeah. But so how do we get on this journey? How do we end up here? How do we end up here? Here.
Ooh.
How do we get here? How did you get here?
Dude, I think that's a good question. How did we get here? I don't know. I think the only way you get here is some type of divine intervention where you have to have some level of understanding of how the world works on a real level versus how they tell you that it works. And then you want freedom to escape from that, or at least freedom to transcend it. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But yeah, man, I think we're here because we want to make an impact in the world and we want to create a new world. We want to create a world that motivates people. We want to create a world that is a level playing field, as we've heard said a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we found out that everybody in Vegas that we talked to, and we talked to a handful of people that went to Bitcoin Vegas as well. And it just seemed like everybody there, and there was over 1,000 people there, everybody there had a general understanding of what XRP does, what digital assets do. And it was really refreshing to know that there were a lot of like minds there. There are a lot of people there that think outside the box, think outside the system, don't believe what they're told. And that's kind of how I ended up here, because I've been in XRP now for, I believe, 7 years. And, I got into like Litecoin first and Ethereum. And, I guess we can talk a little bit about how I got into Bitcoin 14 years ago. I had no clue back then. We were just, we were looking to buy some things online, and that was the only route we could do it. So,
certain things at that time you could only buy with Bitcoin.
Yeah, we were in our early 20s, and, website said go here, then you got to go there, and then you got to create an account here, then you got to go there, and then you can purchase fun things on the internet.
Because you thought it was anonymous.
Yeah. So, of course it's not, but we bought some things and had some good times, and that was when Bitcoin was $3, and we had no clue.
You're past the statute of limitations, man. They can only come after you for 7 years, so you're clear.
Yeah, we were clear, but so we bought, I believe, like 33 Bitcoin, somewhere in there, and it was $3. So we spent most of it online, and then it was
a little left
a
over.
few months later, we checked this account again, and Bitcoin had gone to over $30. So with the change that we had, we were like, oh my God, we have over $100 again. So we decided
buy some more party supplies.
Yeah, buy some more party supplies. And then, when it was all said and done, we still had a fraction of Bitcoin, and you know, when it went
And
up
the rest
again,
is
we
history.
bought just a little bit more stuff, and then, now we look back on it and holy cow, that's over $3 million worth of fun that we had, and what a story. But, I told my mom some years ago, and
Worth
she
every
was
penny.
just my mom was like, "Why didn't you tell me? I would have bought some Bitcoin back in the day." And it's like, "Mom, I wasn't about to tell you that we were doing those things online." So,
Yeah. I think the
yeah.
first crypto I purchased was Dogecoin.
Doge.
Threw a few $100s into it and didn't look at it for several months, and that was a good day when I did look at it.
Yeah. Well, what were you looking at?
I mean, several $1,000s from a few hundred, you
Yeah,
know.
that's
It was at
good.
least like a 30, 40, 50x or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when I got into Litecoin, I bought it at like $30 and it surged to over 100, and I thought, life was changing. And really just starting to watch like any kind of podcast or shows online. We started watching Digital Perspectives and DAI, and those two guys they were hashing it out years and years ago, before, what was it, like 19, 18, 19, somewhere in there they started. And I used to just run on the treadmill and like just listen to those two guys, and just became more and more evident the more research that I did that XRP was the one. And, not to say Bitcoin isn't a one, but, I really think that Bitcoin is the prototype. There's lots of questionable information about how Bitcoin started and how XRP started. And, you know, you can look at all the riddles out there online and you can put all the things together that you want, but, maybe David Schwartz is a little bit more than we think he is.
Him and
So,
Arthur Brito.
oh man.
Dude, I really just think, it comes down to perspective. Like I heard this guy the other day, was telling me how, he's got a great life. You'd think he works out a couple times a day. He gets to eat good food. He has sex 2 or 3 times a week, but every day he wakes up and he complains that he's in prison, and that's kind of what Bitcoin's like,
Hmm.
you know?
Oh, we're gonna find out sooner than later who Satoshi or the four Satoshis are. I mean, it's gonna come to light, man. Scottie Pippen's been posting nonstop about Bitcoin, and it's like, man, and he went to Bitcoin Vegas, and I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe
People
he
just
got
don't
in,
get it.
maybe he got in,
Bitcoin was the original.
yeah,
It
he
was the
probably
original, but
he probably got in super early, so that's why he's
people don't,
talking about it.
yeah. People don't realize it's a prison.
Yeah. Anyway, I started off buying XRP, and then I got into Chainlink, XLM, and I rode those waves up, which were awesome. Got into Chainlink at $1.80 and rode that wave. Got into XLM at a nickel, and I think that wanted to top out at 60 or more cents at one point in time. I mean, it went up, but they're all good projects. I think they all have their place, but the ledger is just the more that I read about it and the more that I understand, it's just like this is it. It's the
Well, I think it
fastest.
really it really comes down to something really simple, and that is the world financial system is moving over to what is known as ISO 20022 compliancy. We have the Bank of International Settlements, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. All these major institutions have been planning this out for a decade plus. And a lot of the ISO compliancy has to do with quantum compliancy. We're really close to an age in computing where quantum if you're not a quantum compliant coded blockchain or software or any type of technology for that purpose, quantum computing is going to be able to hack that, and it's not safe, it's not securable. So this year, just in a couple of weeks, man, July 14th, we've got the United States Federal Reserve moving to a single day implementation of ISO compliancy. The SWIFT global payment networks system stops accepting the old form of messaging on November 22nd this year. So this year is the year that blockchains that are quantum compliant, that are ISO 20022 compliant, will actually begin utilization within the global financial system. And when you understand that, and you understand this shift that's happening behind the scenes, and the thing is, it's not even that behind the scenes. It's they publish these things, people just don't know where to look for them. And then a lot of people that do hear about it think it's conspiratorial, but it was the BIS just a few days ago published a new thing about this switch and how all banks will be moving over to this new messaging standard, which requires blockchain. And when you understand the shift that's happening, it's a once in a lifetime thing, man. There's no reason when you get it, it's like, why would you even have your money in anything other than these ISO compliant tokens? And XRP is obviously the king of that, being that it's Ripple's baby. And, Ripple's been partnered with the World Economic Forum, the Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund since 2012.
Mm.
This isn't new. This has been planned out for a long time, and we're on the precipice of a major change. And the great thing about this type of technology is that the technology itself is agnostic. People often want to talk about these things as if it's like evil, and there may be components of it that are, and there may be people that are trying to use it for nefarious reasons. But the technology itself is neither good nor bad. It is the people that control the technology that get to choose whether to use it for good or bad. And so here we are, man, part of the army who is trying to use this technology for good. And dude, it's going to be a fun ride, man. It's going to be it's going to be a fun few years. It's going to be a fun few decades, especially as we get to see exactly how we get to personally implement these things. I know, Sean, you and I talk all the time about the different goals and the different dreams and that we have, and the things that we want to build.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different family out there. Talking to a lot of people in Vegas about their aspirations and their dreams, and I haven't heard one person say that they can't wait to buy a Lamborghini. It's like when I talk to people in this community, it's like, how are we going to change the world?
Yeah.
Because, one of our passions, my wife and I, we want to build a tiny home community for those who can't afford to buy homes or to stay in a home. That's a big deal to us, to be able to help a lot of people get off the streets, to be able to help. There's just so many people have struggled, and fortunately, my dad's been a contractor for a really long time, and I sent him over a text not too long ago. I was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And so, he's been drawing up designs, and I feel like we're gonna have a really good team to move forward to be able to help a lot of people out. And that's just kind of the different aspect of this community, is that we can't wait to change the world. Sure, we'll have nice things, and we'll have a home or three that we really enjoy going to, and that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you can only spend so much, and you can't take any of it when we go.
That's right. We can provide a lot of jobs in these endeavors too, man. When you have the entrepreneurial bug, and especially being an athlete, when you have that competitive spirit, it's like winning is a different mindset. It's not just, there is no finish line, dude. What we're going to be able to do with this is going to be, there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling. It is going to be the ability to continue to grow and achieve and accomplish things because we've been blessed with this insight ahead of time. And, that's what I'm so excited about, just the community and the family, like the jobs that I'll be able to provide, the ecosystem, that I'm building. And, man, we're already so blessed. I think about all the things we're going to do, but we live pretty great lives already. And I
For
know
sure.
I wake up every day, man, and I'm grateful, and I thank God every day for all my blessings, and you know
Yeah.
that I get to do things that I love every day, that I get to hike, that I get to ski, you know, that I get to be here in the Colorado mountains and do all these things, raising my daughter, homeschooling her, taking her to all of her activities, getting to watch her grow.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, you know, I think in life, oftentimes the biggest blessings are the things that we didn't expect or the things that we wouldn't necessarily have dreamed for ourselves. But it's all led us to exactly where we're supposed to be. And here we are, man. Here we are. Like we're just two guys loving our life who went to a show in XRP Las Vegas, had a blast, and you know, and people are like, where are we even going to be able to see these interviews? And we're just like, we're just here having fun. So
Yeah.
here we are continuing to have fun, man. Like, and that's what this show is going to be about. You know, this is episode 1. You know, eventually we'll be at episode whatever, but every single time we come on here, I'm here to have fun and
Yeah.
enjoy life and talk about things that excite me and just
Yeah.
kick it with the homie. So
We've been spending weeks ordering stuff to be able to put this little studio together. You know, like we physically made these brick walls behind us, and you know, it's awesome. You know, I helped Will put some things together over there because I've set up podcasts before, and I just helped a guy out in Arizona put a podcast together. Helped produce a podcast a couple years ago for a guy in Evergreen, and you know, it's something I always wanted to do, but you know, I just wanted to talk about things that we're passionate about because, yeah, we're you know, crypto's awesome, and the quantum financial system that's upon us is awesome, but you know, living in the moment, really, really appreciating just the ability to observe what's going on right now because we've been here a lot longer. I mean, I'm sure all of us have friends that are like, when moon. And we, you know, we even asked that in Vegas, but you know, it's like that this thing is, it is the future, which is why it's taken so long. And you can think whatever you want about the lawsuit, but I think it's all for show. You know, they're buying time to just make it right. They're trying to get their buddies in. They're trying to drive us out, you know, because we saw it go up, what it touched $2 a couple years back, and then it pulled all the way back. And, you know, how many people got out then? How many people bought more? I certainly I haven't sold it. There's no
I
need
maybe
to.
I
And
maybe bought another 100 or 2.
yeah, and you know we'll get into exit strategy and hopefully we can have Coach JV on here to talk about what he does and Merlin, the app that he's developed. Him and his team are awesome. We'll definitely publish his interview and then get him back on the show because he's so cool and there's just so many cool people in the community. And XRP Vegas was just a way to meet everybody. You know, to chat with Brad and DAI and you know, the conversation with John Deaton, you know, I met him
That
last
was
year.
such a fun
Uh,
conversation.
I met him last year downstairs when he was walking into it, and I got to chat with him for a few minutes. And, you know, it was so cool to watch him run the race and honestly get as many votes as he got. And, you know, the tide is turning and we're here, we're part of it. And you know, hopefully we'll be able just to be real with you guys and just talk about the things that we chat about. You know, I'm gonna try to stop having phone calls with Will just so that this is the way that we can communicate. Because, you know, I told him I was like, man, this should just be a conversation between the two of us because, you know, we're not here to gain a bunch of sponsors. We're not here to make sure we get all the clicks. Like we're here because this is a creative outlet for us and we want to enjoy it. We want to have fun with it. And we're
Yes.
really excited to be able to share what we captured in Vegas and then just a little bit of insights on what we see is just everyday everyday people. So
That's
I
right,
think
man.
think that's good. I think that's a good place to send it off. And, you know, I have no clue what our next episode is going to be about, but we're going to start showing these interviews from Vegas and kind of chatting about it. And then hopefully we can get Zach Rector, Mickle, John Deaton, all the people on the show. You know, it would be really cool to have Simon back on. He's just he's a wealth of
Brilliant.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so cool. You got his number. Right?
Got a few numbers.
Yeah. You got a few numbers. It's hard to say no to a 7-footer. Look at that smile.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. It's going to be fun.
Good place to wrap it up. Let's do it.